Oh.
So far, the budget micros we've reviewed haven't been exactly great, but can this new buggy change all of that? In today's video, we've got another budget micro, this time from Jiabaile, and yes, it is four-wheel drive. Will this one finally break the trend and actually be any good? There's only one way to find out. Now, taking a quick look at the box, you can see the car comes in two different options, a brushed and a brushless. I went for the brushed option and it came in around about $50 to $60 by the time it got to my door. Now, I paid for this out of my own pocket, so as always, you can be assured you're getting a 100% honest review. Box, you can see that we get oil-filled shocks, front and rear differential, and that most important four-wheel drive. And it comes with a 2S lithium battery. Now, I ordered this one up from AliExpress and it took only around about 10 days to arrive. But with that said, let's get this thing open and see what it's like. Now, inside the box, you obviously get your car and it has the battery pre-installed. You get your transmitter, but you're going to need to provide 4 AAA batteries for that. And then you get your charger, manual, and this small bag with a couple of extras. You get a couple of extra spare wheel nuts, a couple of spare body pins, and then a wheel wrench and a hex key. Now, along with that, you also get these 2 small vacuum formed ramps, which should be perfect for testing out this buggy. Now let's get down to the business side of things and get this body off and see what's underneath. So inside you can see that we have got our brushed motor and it's the same sort of size that you get in a Mini Z. Interestingly, it comes with a separate receiver and ESC, which should mean that we have a few extra options that we can do later down the line. Looking at the suspension, you can see we have got those oil-filled coilover shocks, and they feel, well, pretty good really. Now, I've had a bit of a measure around and it turns out that all the shocks on this car are exactly the same length as what comes on the Losi Micro B. So it'll be interesting to see if some of the upgraded shocks from that platform fit this car as well. Taking a bit more of a look around the car, you can see we have got that aluminium chassis. It is near enough flat, just with a small kick up at the front here. Now, going in a little closer and taking a look at some of those molded components, you can see that the quality is not perhaps the best and they are fairly agricultural in design. However, you are still getting a lot of car for your money. Now, all the links on this car are plastic and fixed in length. However, we do have steel drive shafts, front and rear. Now, looking at the wheels and tyres, you can see that the tyres are very low profile indeed, and that should help with cornering on the carpet tracks. However, it doesn't feel like there's any foams under there at all, and that is going to make the ride slightly harder. The last thing that we need to touch on is its size. Now, it is classed as a 1/24 scale buggy. However, when we compare it to something more common like the Hobby Plus Spec B, you can see that it is actually a little bit larger. And then when we turn it over, you can see that the width isn't that dissimilar. However, taking a closer look at the wheels, you can see that those new wheels are quite a lot larger in diameter. And now, doing a comparison to the new Hobby Plus Spec SCT, you can see that the wheelbase is almost identical, perhaps just 1 or 2 millimeters difference. Taking a quick look around the transmitter, while it doesn't look all that special, in the hand it doesn't actually feel too bad at all. We've got a nice foam grip here on the steering wheel. On the back we have got our power switch, and on the top here we have got a gyro again. So it'll be interesting to see how that works when we take the car out for a test. Below we have got our throttle endpoints, so if you need to turn that top speed down, you can do so with these buttons. Then beside that we have got a switch for a light, which is obviously not applicable on this car. On the side here you have got our 2 steering trims, and that pretty much wraps up that. Now, if you watch my review on the WL Toys Budget Micro Buggy, you will remember that the electronics were, well, to put it politely, less than brilliant. So let's find out if this car has the same or whether it's any better. First, the steering. I've got my fingers crossed that this is going to be half decent. Here we go. And it actually feels not too bad at all. Speed wise, again, not bad. Can't really complain there. If we put it under a little load, does it stall out? No. All seems good. The servo saver seems to be working quite happily still. So hopefully that is a big plus over the WL toys. Now for a little test of that gyro that the car is equipped with. At the moment it is turned off and you can see that there is no effect at all on the steering. If I now turn the gyro up, this is about halfway, you can see that servo now starts to have an effect. Now with the gain turned up full, you can see when we move it, it has a lot more effect. So it'll be interesting to try that out on the hard and the loose surfaces to see what effect it has. And now onto the speed. Now again, when we had that WL toys, it was a bit like a switch and there was no real modulation or control on the throttle. Is this going to be any better? Well, fingers crossed. Here we go. And look at that. That is lovely and smooth. Winding it all the way up. There we go, that is flat out. And we've actually even got some braking there, which is good to see. No drag brake of notice. I'm not too fussed about that. I don't tend to run it on my cars. I know some people do. Whether there's any programming able to be done on this ESC, I couldn't tell you. I haven't seen anything in the manual as yet. But there you go, pretty impressive. Now we have racing coming up this evening. However, let's go first next door, get a few ramps out and see what it's like. So there you go, that was a quick run of the car indoors, and to be honest, I was pretty surprised it actually drove fairly well. Now yes, those tyres are a little on the hard side, and likewise with the shocks. I think softening those up would really help. Now as for the steering, as you will have seen, the turning radius is actually very good indeed. However, it almost felt a little on the twitchy side, so it'll be interesting to see what it's like when we head to the track. If you haven't already, don't forget, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to see more builds and reviews like this in the future. Okay, now we've got a little more time before racing, so let's head outside and try and test that gyro on a couple of different surfaces, and then stick the GPS on and see what speeds we can get out of it. Okay, so first off, this is with the gyro switch completely off. And as you can see, it's not too bad, but it's certainly getting chucked around a little bit by the bumps. And now with the gyro set at 50%, which I found to be just about the sweet spot, it certainly has made quite a difference.
Okay, so now for a bit of a speed test with the GPS. I did have to stick it on top because it's quite clearly not going to go inside, but let's see what it does. There we have it, 13 miles an hour.
13 miles per hour was about all I could get out of it. That equates to around about 20 kilometers an hour. Now on the box it was stating 35 kilometers an hour for the brush version. How they got that, well, I'm not too sure. Now there is obviously the debate, brushed or brushless. Having purchased the brush version, I am slightly regretting not getting the brushless and having a little bit more grunt. Having said that, the brushed motor for indoor use and around the house really isn't too bad at all. Okay, now let's try this on this loose, dusty surface and see what it's like. And we'll also give that gyro a good go. Okay, there we go. Oh, well, it didn't like that. It quite clearly didn't like that dusty surface. I guess it's time to find out what's inside those differentials. Okay, so there we go. That is the differential. Let's pop it out and see if we can see what's going on. Okay, so after stripping the front end down, I couldn't see anything too much wrong with it. There was a tiny amount of dust in there, but nothing really to worry about. Now the diff did seem very stiff, but it was all working, so I'm going to leave that be at the moment. I then moved to the back of the car and I removed that spur and pinion cover, and sure enough there was a lot of dirt and sand in there already. So I think really this car is going to be for cleaner surfaces indoors, or perhaps just a little bit of tarmac use. Okay, now I've got the car all cleaned out and back working. Let's head to the track and see what it's like there. So welcome to Sussex Micro Club here tonight. We have a nice fun track going and we are just running a little practice. So far so good with the new buggy. It seems to be going pretty well. Now if you have a little closer look at the steering, you will notice that it is rather aggressive, and it does have a habit of hooking up rather easily and making it a bit of a handful at times. Unfortunately, due to having no endpoint adjustment on the transmitter, there's not a lot that you can do about it.
Wait, so where's people started?
Sounds alright. It's just the steering is the only thing. Whoa. Yeah.
So back from racing, and I passed the transmitter around to a good few people, and I have to say the feedback was really positive, and I think the car does show some good potential. Now, as I've mentioned a few of them already, there are a few drawbacks with the car. First off, that steering, it really is a little on the aggressive side, especially on carpet, and it's a real shame that there is no way to turn the sensitivity down on the transmitter. And secondly, onto the wheels and tyres, being such low profile and having no foams really does make the ride and the landings rather hard. I think softening the shocks might help a little bit, but might not solve the problem completely. And then there is the fact that what happens when these tyres wear out, being that slightly different size, are we going to be able to get replacements? Now, bearing in mind this is a budget car and it only costs around $50 to $60, what do we make of it? Well, I think it's a great way to get into the RC hobby, and it shows a lot of car for your money. While the performance is not necessarily the same as some of the more expensive cars, there is certainly enough there to whet your appetite. And for those of you that are looking to add this to your existing fleet of micros, I probably would go down the brushless route in the future to get a little more speed and power. So there you have it, a new micro buggy that's really raised the bar for out-the-box budget performance. I'd love to hear what you think, especially if you've already picked one up or have one on order. Let me know down in the comments, I read every single one. As always, if you found this video helpful and you'd like to support the channel and see more reviews and builds in the future, don't forget, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, whether you're out driving or flying, have fun, and I will see you in the next one.
Swagger down the street with your red lips and funky beat. You better hold your head up to the sky. I'm gonna roll with you till the day I die.